They're not good enough to start. They're not even good enough to play. But they do talk a good game. So come join Lou and Jose from the sidelines where all the best sports discussions happen anyway. Welcome in to the Benchwarmerz podcast.
Welcome into the program, everybody. I am Lou Ruggieri, and that is Jose Ortiz, and this is the Benchwarmerz podcast. Wherever, whenever, and however you happen to be listening, we appreciate you taking some time to spend it with us. Hopefully, it's been worth your while thus far. It's certainly been fun for us. You can follow us along. We're part of the iHeartRadio podcasting lineup. Proud member of that little situation. Amazon, the newly formed Amazon podcast. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Play. Social media, we're on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, at the Benchwarmers Podcast, at the BW Pod on Twitter, or you can email us, love mail, hate mail, the Benchwarmers Podcast at yahoo.com, Benchwarmers with a Z. And with all those podcasting lineups and all those formats, please, 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 I hate doing this, but I'm going to beg, please give us a good review. We try to make a good show for you, and we'd like to have that reflected in our reviews. Now that with the shameless self-promotion out of the way, let's move on. We touched on all things NFL in the first hour. We played Make No Mistake or Give Me a Break. We had our new segment, The Extra Point, which I think went better than expected. We touched on the top 5 news stories in the NFL in Week 14. You can go back and listen to those for Hour 1. There was also a moral lesson from Aristotle you can chime in for, highlight and low light of the week, all that stuff and more. So like I said, find one of those platforms and go find us if you missed out. Coming up in a little bit, we have to switch back to the NFL and look to Week 15 and make a whole bunch of picks. But now, Jose, it's time for some NBA because NBA is like 10 days away, and it's really exciting. We have a lot to catch up on and not a whole lot of time to do it. So I'm just going to dive right in. We have some news, some big news, actually, big money news. And I just give me a reaction. I'm going to just rattle some things off to you. Both Anthony Davis and LeBron have re-upped with the Lakers. I know this is like a week old, but we didn't really touch on it last week. AD, 5 years, $190 million. LeBron, 2 years, $85 million. Lakers, ready to go.
Yeah, it looks like they're trying to build a dynasty right now. They brought some players in, some role players in, and then they locked in their anchors for the next. LeBron's going to be there until he's 38 now. Anthony Davis is still a young player, and my pick for MVP. I said it last week. I love it, and I'm happy that they're going to be together. I'm happy that LeBron didn't wait till didn't let his contract. How he's been doing in the past, where he kind of drags it out or everything. He just re-signed with it. And I think he still had a year left on his contract and re-signed. I love it. My only question is there any chance LeBron actually retires at the end of this contract? It looks like he's going to it just doesn't look like he's slowing down at all.
I mean, if they go, 3 for 3 with rings, which I mean is obviously a lot can happen, but it'd be hard. It'd be hard to break that up. I mean, if I was AD and I'm LeBron and I'm on the Lakers and I'm building a dynasty, I mean you can't get much better than being part of a dynasty team on Los Angeles Lakers.
No, yeah.
And LeBron, I think he wants to play at least until his son Bronny gets in the NBA. So.
But I think his son is like 12.
His son's like in high school. He's got like a couple more. Yes, I think he's got 2 more years. I think at the end of this contract, I think that might be part of it. So, in other news, Giannis signs, and this obviously Giannis is now not going to the Lakers like some people were rumored, which I never thought was going to happen. But Giannis signs a supermax deal to stay with the Milwaukee Bucks. 5 years. Biggest contract in NBA history, by the way. 5 years, $228.2 million. Bananas.
Well, smart for him to sign the contract now before the salary cap goes down next year. That's one thing I just want to point out. That might be part of the reason that he decided to just go ahead and sign it. They did make some moves to try and improve the team. I don't think that their championship I don't look at them as a favorite to win the champion or even come out of the East. So I don't know. I'm happy he stayed. I'm happy for Milwaukee. I left this in the show doc. What I want to know is all the people who kill LeBron and Kevin Durant for going to a team to put themselves in position to win. Are you going to give Giannis a pass if at the end of his career he stayed in Milwaukee the entire time and didn't win a championship? Probably not.
Well,
Probably not.
To quote the great movie Gladiator, the mob is fickle, brother. And that's there. It doesn't matter what he does. If he stays, they're gonna, there's always gonna be people to give him crap for it. And if he goes, then they're just fuel the fire, and they're gonna be burning his jersey in Milwaukee. So, I mean, I think Giannis, from what I've seen and read about his personality, he sort of fits into the kind of smaller market. He likes where he is. He doesn't want to be in the spotlight, and I think that this fits. I just hope that Milwaukee management is smart enough to put pieces around him that will make him successful, because it would be a shame if a guy like Giannis goes out without a ring. Let's see. Speaking of guys without rings, Paul George re-ups with the Clippers 4 years and $190 million, which to me is crazy. I know there's some slotting that we talked about off air, but Anthony Davis getting 5 years, $190 million, and then somehow Paul George getting 4 years and $190 million. That seems insanely unequitable, but it is what it is. I mean, it's good to be an NBA veteran. So
yeah,
Paul George reing up with the Clippers to the tune of 4 years, $190 million.
I'm just not a huge Paul George guy. I don't want to make it seem like he's a bad player. He's okay. He averaged 21.5 points a game last year, kind of disappeared at times in the postseason. I don't know. I'm not a huge Paul George guy. I don't like this signing by the Clippers. Maybe they felt like they didn't have a choice. They're kind of pot committed with Kawhi Leonard. Who are you getting that's going to be better than Paul George at this point? I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of the signing. I don't want to belabor the point too much.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Paul George, that's a lot of money for a guy who had 10 points in a Game 7 and supposed to be the second best guy on that team. And he's not the player he was on Oklahoma City. And it feels like when the lights are brightest, he sort of shrinks.
And honestly, not even, there's that, but I'm just looking from the efficiency standpoint. If you're going to shoot under 45% from the field, you need to have more than 21.5 points per game for me to feel like there's a lot of value there. It just feels like just doesn't feel like he's a very complete player. Feels like when you have the ball in his hands, is not necessarily the best offensive option. I prefer him to shoot. I would double team Kawhi Leonard all the time and put the ball in Paul George's hands. He's an okay player. He's a good player. He's a good player, not a great player.
Agreed. And speaking of high volume and low efficiency, James Harden still wants out from the Rockets. And though he's not signed a contract, and most of these NBA news stories have been players that have signed, where do you see James Harden signing that he could make a legitimate impact and finally get the ring that he's been longing for his entire career?
Well, I think they should trade him to I don't know if they have the pieces, but they should trade him to the Milwaukee Bucks. I think that would be a good signing. And just to follow up on your point about high scoring, low efficiency, James Harden's shoots 44% from the floor, but he's averaging 35 points a game. There's a big difference. If you're going to shoot at a low percentage, at least score a lot, And I think that he needs to go someplace where there's an interior presence that can draw some attention away from him, and then he can draw attention away from the interior presence. I think they could have an amazing pick and roll game if they could find a way to get him to Milwaukee. I don't know that Milwaukee has the pieces to make the move, especially after trading basically giving them all the draft picks they did to get Jrue Holiday. But I would be doing anything possible to get James Harden in the Milwaukee Bucks uniform.
I couldn't agree more. The Bucks would be number one on my list too, because for everything you said, I mean, Giannis needs a legit number two, and Jrue Holiday is pretty good. Chris Middleton is a 3. He's not a 2. Yep. And adding a guy like James Harden takes so much of the onus of scoring off of Giannis and lets him kind of do what he does best without having to do things that he doesn't do well. It makes a lot of sense in a lot of ways. And I think that if I was the Bucks, I mean, yeah, because they mortgaged everything but the kitchen sink to get Drew Holiday. I mean, what do you get for James Harden? But I guess it falls more on the Rockets, but I might try. I mean, there might be a way that they can kind of convince Harden to take less. Maybe he takes less and they give more. I don't know. But however you have to do it, they should figure out a way to do it, because I think that's the only way that they're going to make any noise in the East.
Yeah, and I think also, just to follow that up, not only does it take pressure off of Giannis, it would take pressure off of Harden too. To maybe he would, I don't know, but maybe he would stop taking so many kind of bad shots, because he's not going to feel a bad shot from me is better than a good shot from one of my teammates when you have a 2-time MVP in the prime of his career on your team. Now, I could be overestimating James Harden, but I think he needs to go someplace where there's not another perimeter threat. He needs to go someplace where the threat is in the interior, so they can have an inside-out game and an outside-in game.
Yeah, I mean, plus Giannis was also Defensive Player of the Year.
That's true.
And it'd be nice to see James Harden play with a team that has some defense. Okay, so speaking of James Harden and trade rumors, he was rumored to go to the Nets, and we'd like to see him on the Bucks. But I want to segue into our Eastern Conference preview, and this is basically just it's a 5-question quiz, if you will. It's five. We didn't really come up with a good name for them, but it's top 5 questions that we came up for in this conference preview. And so, number 1, if you had to wager a week's pay on one Eastern Conference team to get to the NBA Finals, which team are you betting on?
Give me the Celtics. I believe that this team is on the brink of taking that next step. They've been in the Eastern Conference Finals 3 of the last 4 years. They have Jason Tatum, a player who I believe is on the verge of superstardom. And they also have a strong supporting cast in Jaylen Brown, Kemba Walker, Marcus Smart, Daniel Theus, adding a great coach in Brad Stevens. I really, really like this team. I thought about the Bucks and the Nets, but I think they have kind of too many new pieces for me to really buy in immediately. And I think the Heat were kind of a Cinderella story last year, and the Raptors just aren't good enough. So, give me the Celtics.
This is kind of going chalk at this point, but I would take the Miami Heat, actually. Okay. I don't think that it was a mistake. I don't think it was an anomaly. I don't think it was a Cinderella story, really, because Jimmy Butler, I've said this 1,000 times, Jimmy Butler was the best player on that Philly team, and he was the one guy that they should have kept of all those guys, but he's proven to be a superstar. Tyler Hero, great as a rookie. He's only going to get better now that he has some experience. Bam Adebayo is, aside from Jimmy Butler, Bam is a bona fide superstar at this point, and we'll see Dragic back. He'll be he won't be hurt anymore. And it feels like that team, with Eric Spoelstra as their coach and, Pat Riley, obviously in the front office, it feels like they're here to stay. They have the right mentality. They kind of have that working class, we're going to bust our ass and just outwork you mentality, and that wins. You don't get to the finals by being the Clippers and just thinking that you're going to walk in and go, all right, well, we're here, so just give us the ring now. No, you have to earn it, and they are not afraid to do that.
Yeah, it's the Raptors are a good pick, and they were actually probably maybe my second or third team. I just love what the Celtics are doing. I think they're going to get much better this year.
All right, question number 2. Which Eastern Conference stars are facing the most pressure to win this year? I think there's one obvious answer to this.
I have a top 3, actually. Okay. Number 1 is Giannis.
Yep.
Easily. I don't think it's debatable.
It's not even close.
Yeah. Number 2 is Jason Tatum. Just because, as of what I said, kind of on the verge of superstardom. They just signed him to a max contract. Celtics have been knocking on the door. And then number 3 is Kevin Durant. I just feel like he needs to prove it again. I think there are a lot of people who are a bit unfulfilled by the championships that he won with the Golden State Warriors. Kind of the way people felt about LeBron winning the championships with the Heat until he kind of proved it again by winning with the Cavaliers. I think we need KD to prove it again.
See, I would trade out. I agree with your first 2. I would trade out KD for actually Kyrie Irving because Durant, we've seen him be the best player in the world for a limited amount of time. Kyrie has never been able to do it. He tried to leave LeBron, and then he was he was he had a coffee and a donut in Boston, and then he got shipped off. And, he's got a lot. He's been talking a lot. He took some shots at LeBron in the offseason.
Yep.
And it's like, hey, man, it's time to put up or shut up. And I think that there is some pressure on him. And I think he's going to feel it. And rightly so.
Yeah, no, that's a good pick. Great pick.
Question number 3. Which Eastern Conference team or teams are primed for regression?
So I feel bad because I like this team, but I'm going to pick the Toronto Raptors. To me, they clearly overachieved, did not belong among the elite in the Eastern Conference, although they did take the Celtics to 7 games. They didn't add anyone of significance. Kyle Lowry is not getting better. He's getting older. Van Vliet, they re-signed him. I don't think that was a great pick. And Pascal Siakam, while a decent player, unless he shows up and has some new moves this season, feels a little bit limited on offense. That he's not the type of player who can carry a team offensively. I expect them to take a step back, maybe a 5 or 6 seed in the Eastern Conference.
That's actually a pretty good one. I like that a lot, actually. I'm tempted to say the Miami Heat just because they made it so far. So anything less than the finals is going to be a regression. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to say the 76ers are going to fall back even further just because we've seen it over and over again. And, definition of insanity, you keep doing the same thing and expect a different result. They still have Ben Simmons. They still have Joel Embiid. They still have Tobias Harris. And what do we expect? We've seen them try this over and over. Trust the process. Well, the process didn't work. So what's the new process? And it just feels like they're just keep smacking their head against the same wall over and over again. And I know, Doc Rivers is there now, which maybe that's it. Maybe that is the change. They signed Seth Curry came along, which is a great perimeter shooter
and defender.
And I think that he complements a guy like Ben Simmons very well. And the core of that group, Tobias Harris didn't deserve what he got. And part of that is it's good to see Doc Rivers there because Doc Rivers is the one that helped him get that money when he was at the Clippers. But Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid don't work well together. And we keep seeing it. And until something changes with that, I don't expect them to get better. I expect them to get worse.
Yeah, that's a great pick. I actually didn't even consider them because they weren't that good to begin with. So, but no, I don't want to be disrespectful. You're right. That's a good pick.
All right. Conversely, which Eastern Conference team, question number 4, which Eastern Conference team or teams are poised for the biggest leap forward?
I could only pick one team, and I think it's because the bottom half of the Eastern Conference is so bad.
Mm-hmm.
There's just no one inspiring me. So I had to go with the Brooklyn Nets.
Same one.
I think it's for obvious reasons. You add Kyrie Irving and KD and they're both healthy. Assuming they're both healthy and back to where they were, the Nets have to get better. They have to get better. You would think they were a number 7 seed last year. You would imagine the addition of Kyrie and KD would make them a top 4 seed. You would think.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah, they got swept in the first round of the playoffs. They didn't look great. It was embarrassing, but they were also playing with lawn chairs and mannequins out there at some point. They were just half their team didn't make the trip. And I think that this team with Kyrie and Kevin Durant, it could either be fantastic or just a fantastic failure. And they could go either way. The floor and the ceiling are just so high and so low.
Yeah.
But if they hit and they catch lightning in a bottle, I mean, this team could be a championship team.
Absolutely. They have the pieces. We've seen that you need to have 2 stars, and they have 2 stars. So we'll see what they can.
And they have 2 great. I mean, as far as talent, if Kyrie can kind of get his act together a little bit, Kevin Durant, if he's 80% of what he was, he's still going to be a top 5 player in the NBA. I mean, he can be unguardable at times. And his game isn't just predicated on speed, so that the Achilles injury, while it's devastating, isn't going to destroy his entire arsenal of weapons that he has at his disposal.
Yeah, he's a knockdown shooter. He's going to be a dangerous player if he's at all healthy. He's going to be great.
I agree. Finally, question number 5, Eastern Conference preview. Which Eastern Conference players will you be most watching this season?
So I picked
watching the most, I guess.
I picked 2.
Mm-hmm.
And one I already touched on, Jason Tatum.
Okay.
I'm waiting for his superstar leap. I think this is the year where we see him get close to 30 points per game. And his rebounding and assist numbers are already pretty good, but I can see those going up as well. And the other player, I'm really interested to see LaMelo Ball. He was the first pick of the Eastern Conference, number 3 pick overall. I'm just curious to see what he can bring to a Charlotte franchise that has been starving for a superstar for quite some time. So and then also, LiAngelo and Lonzo Ball coming into the league and not performing.
Yeah, LiAngelo just got cut by the Pistons, I think. It's just unfortunate, but yeah, I agree. I would put Kevin Durant number 1. Mm-hmm. I'd put him number 1 and number 2 if I could, because I cannot wait to see. I miss watching Kevin Durant play basketball because he does it in such a unique way, and he's such an elite player when he's on. Mm-hmm. Outside of Durant, I mean, I don't know, Bradley Beal maybe, but not really. I'm just kidding. Nobody watches the Wizards. I would say, Kyrie. It's going to be the Brooklyn Nets. I cannot wait to watch this team. I don't care who they're playing, when they're playing. I want to see those two on the floor and how they operate, and just not only just from a chemistry standpoint, but from a talent standpoint. Like I said with Durant, he could be the best player in the world, and Kyrie, for all his craziness, he's kind of like the Antonio Brown of the NBA. It's like when his talent level is just so crazy. He has the best handle maybe ever in the NBA. I mean, it's ridiculous. And when he's focused and playing basketball, he's pretty amazing to watch.
I just want to point out one thing that I think we forgot to talk about, and you triggered it in my brain. Mm-hmm. What was your opinion on the John Wall trade, the John Wall for Russell Westbrook? When you mentioned Bradley Beal, I was like, oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Russell Westbrook's playing with them now. What are your thoughts on that trade?
I mean, I think the Hornets won that trade. I think Bradley...
The Wizards.
Or the Wizards, excuse me. Yeah, the Wizards. I think Bradley Beal complements Russell Westbrook very well because he's a very good shooter, and Russell Westbrook is not. But Russell Westbrook is a good guard. He's a good ball handler. He'll draw attention, and I think and his motor. I mean, short of having a better shot, I mean, Russell Westbrook has everything you'd want in a NBA player. He plays at 100% every game. He never takes time off. He plays hard, and it's the Rockets. I mean, John Wall has been out of the basketball for almost 2 years. It's hard to think. I mean, I know that they got a draft pick, so maybe that'll turn into something. But It just feels like it's a lateral move for them, where it's just you're just getting rid of a contract more than you're trying to take on a good player.
Well, that's why, and actually, I take the opposite. I think that the Rockets got the better of the deal, not so much because of John Wall, but because I don't think that James Harden and Russell Westbrook were going to suddenly click and make a run to the NBA Finals. And so you may as well just get something for Russell Westbrook and still not win the championship. That's probably what's going to happen, right? They're still not going to win the championship.
Yeah.
And I don't think the Wizards are suddenly a playoff team, or maybe they're a playoff team, but I don't think they're suddenly a team that we're really concerned about going very far in the postseason. So that's, and Russell Westbrook is a great player. He averaged 27 a game last year. This is following 3 consecutive years of having a triple-double average. Yep. Great player.
MVP.
Yeah, MVP. I like the other side of the deal.
Yeah, the Wizards were 9th in the East last year. I mean, it's not saying much because they were 25-47, but I mean, I don't know. We'll see. I mean, that's going to be. I don't know if anybody really won that trade. I think it's just sort of you're trading losses at that point. So, all right, so that'll do it for or not.
Yeah, that's true.
So that'll do it for the Eastern Conference preview. We're going to have similar questions to this next week with the Western Conference, and we're just gearing up. We're trying to get back into NBA mode, and it's going pretty well, I think. So we're going to take a break, and we're going to come back, and we have to shift back to the NFL. We have to look back on our Week 14 picks. When it's time to make some Week 15 picks, only a couple more weeks left, so we're going to have fun doing it. So stick around. We'll be right back on the Benchwarmers podcast.
You can reduce your risk of COVID-19 by cleaning and disinfecting frequently touched items and surfaces every day. These items include remotes, tables, counters, light switches, doorknobs, handles, toilets, and sinks. Wear disposable gloves to clean and disinfect. If you can see that the item is dirty, wash first with soap and water or another general cleaner. Then use a household disinfectant to kill germs. Follow manufacturer's instructions for application and proper ventilation to safely use the product. For phones or other electronics, follow the manufacturer's instructions for cleaning and disinfecting. If no instructions, use alcohol-based wipes or sprays containing at least 70% alcohol. Dry surface thoroughly. For more tips, visit cdc.gov.
And now back to the Benchwarmers podcast with Lou and Jose.
Welcome back to the program, everybody. I'm still Lou Ruggieri. That is still Jose Ortiz, and this is still the Benchwarmers podcast. We are rounding out hour number 2. The show is flown by, as usual, because we've just packed it full of such great content, or at least we hope you think that, because we do. You can follow us along if you missed any part of the show. You can follow us along in the iHeartRadio podcasting app. We are a proud member of the Amazon podcasting lineup also. You can find us Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, social media, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, the Benchwarmers Podcast, at the BW Pod on Twitter, or email us at thebenchwarmerspodcast@yahoo.com. Benchwarmers with a Z for marketing purposes. Just got into some Eastern Conference previews in the NBA, but now it's time to shift back to the NFL. And Jose, without further ado, let's look back on Week 14. We made some picks. We made some betting line picks, which we call put your money where your mouth is. We made some wins and loss picks. And I don't think I did well this week.
Well, you were above 500.
Right.
So that's a start. Let's start with the put your money where your mouth is. We both lost last week, and honestly, you've already won the season series. So now it's about how badly you're going to beat me, because I can't have an 8-win season. Like I'm 5-9.
Yeah.
You were 8-6, and I don't think there's a mathematical way for me to catch you. I'm not 100% sure about that.
Put your money where your mouth is we make one bet each every week with the spread according to DraftKings Sportsbook. I picked the Texans -1 over the Bears, which I thought was a lock, and the Bears suddenly remembered to bring their offense with them and smacked the Texans in the mouth. And you picked the Saints. Which I thought was also a great pick, -7.5 over the Eagles, and the Eagles didn't just cover; they won outright, which is both shocking.
I think it was more shocking for me that the Texans, just because what happened to the Texans' offense?
Yeah.
I know that David Johnson was like a surprise scratch, and Will Fuller's gone, and then Brandon Cooks was a surprise scratch as well.
I think Will Fuller, the loss of Will Fuller, I think hurts a lot.
Yeah.
David Johnson is. I mean, you could play running back and put David Johnson's jersey on. No one knows the difference. But all right, so this week, put your money where your mouth is our sports bet this week. I am going, and I said this before when we were talking off air. My normal, and I think I said this last week, I don't bet against Bill Belichick because you saw what he did to the Chargers last week. But that being said, the line this week, the Dolphins are only -2 at home to New England. And Dolphins at home against New England seems to be the Achilles heel of even the Tom Brady Patriots. And the Dolphins, we just saw what they did to the Chiefs. And New England, if you took the top 15 skill players on the Chiefs and the Patriots, I don't think there's one that's on the Patriots. And so I think that the Dolphins, with that defense, Xavier Howard he's going to be bored because he's not going to be able to cover. I think that the Dolphins are going to smoke the Patriots at home, and they're only giving up 2 points. So give me the Dolphins -2.
I completely agree with that. The one thing I will and I'll give you a chance to back out of it. A couple of weeks ago, you told me that what Bill Belichick does to rookie quarterbacks.
Yes.
I still went with the Chargers, and the Chargers got shut out.
See, I think that Bill Belichick is still going to do that to Tua. I think he's still going to make Tua look stupid. But Lynn with the Chargers, I mean, his special teams play. I mean, we saw it again this week. They're right before the half. I don't know what they did. They were on a 4th down. They had no timeouts. They only had a few seconds left. They decided to try to kick a field goal, which takes like a good 10, 12, 15 seconds with 8 seconds left. And they just completely botched that. And I think that Bill Belichick is going to do that to Tua. I think he's going to make Tua make mistakes, but I think that the Dolphins defense is so good that it's going to cover for that, because the Patriots offense is so anemic that I think that the Dolphins defense scores more than the Patriots offense.
Yeah, no, I like the pick. I just wanted to point that out.
No, that's fair.
I've got the Bills -6.5 over the Broncos. I would try to give you some logic behind it, but I just feel like I don't even know what I'm doing anymore. It's because obviously I'm 5-9. The Bills just beat the Steelers. The Broncos
I don't know.
Terrible.
The Broncos are a wild card. The only thing that makes me nervous about that is that we just saw Drew Lock throw for 4 touchdowns.
Yeah.
And then I never know if he's going to throw for 2 touchdowns or 2 interceptions or both.
Early in the season, I'd be putting all this thought into who I want to pick, and I'm looking at it, and it's just been turning out terribly. So now I'm just looking at the spreads and say, you know what, this looks decent. I'm taking it.
All right.
Because obviously my science is not working.
Well, your science for the regular picks is working it pretty well, because you beat my rear this week.
Yeah, so I went 12-4 this week. You went 9-7. So only 3 games, but that we were tied heading into week 14. So now I am 126-57-1. You are 123-60-1.
Three-game lead. All right.
3-game lead. This is the type of week where either you catch me, or hopefully for my sake, I can build on this lead. So we're gonna see. We're just gonna go ahead. Little forewarning for you football fans out there. There's football on Saturday this week. So just throw that out there. I don't know why the NFL does this. It's like you really just want to mess my marriage up. But now you have football on Saturday too. Like, what am I supposed to do? Obviously, I'm going to watch these games.
Yeah.
Either way. Thursday Night Football. An amazing game. Chargers at Raiders.
Wow. And so these games are just straight up. Was just win-loss. Chargers at Raiders. Oh boy.
I'm going to take the Raiders because they're home.
Give me the Raiders. Yeah, I think the Raiders bounce back.
It's a tough one. Yeah.
The Chargers have found ways to lose games in incredible fashion, so I think that they might do it again.
Can I just say that we make these picks on Tuesday, and there are times when it gets to Friday where I want to change my pick, and it's too late. And I'm like, darn, we're already locked in. So we're not getting the camp reports and all these intel that you get throughout the week that could shift your pick one way or the other. So just want to give ourselves a little excuse there. All right. Saturday, early game, Bills at Broncos. Taking the Bills.
Yeah.
Late game on Saturday, Panthers at Packers.
Packers.
At least these are games I can skip.
Yeah.
All right, Sunday, Bucks at Falcons.
I'm going to go Bucks.
Yeah.
Falcons don't look good. Julio's been hurt, and Matt Ryan hasn't looked very good either.
He doesn't look whenever Julio Jones is not there. Ryan.
Russell Gage looks pretty good, by the way, in Julio Jones' stead. He's been doing. He actually threw a touchdown he threw a pass to Calvin Ridley this week, and he looked pretty good. He was a high school quarterback apparently, so he's a good wide receiver, and apparently he can throw the ball too. So, all that being said, the Bucks are better.
Yeah. Lions at Titans.
Titans.
I don't think we're gonna have a lot of differences this week.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Titans.
I mean, week 15, you kind of know who's who at this point. It's
there might be some games here. Texans at Colts.
It has to be the Colts, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It has to be. Although this is the kind of game that the Texans will win.
I actually think this is the kind of game that the Colts will lose, but fine.
Fair, yeah. Okay, fair enough.
You can word it however you want to put it. How about the Patriots at the Dolphins?
Give me the Dolphins.
Yeah.
I think Patriots at Miami don't play well, even with the greatest quarterback of all time, and now they have the most overrated quarterback in history of the sport. So
I don't know about all that now.
one of the most overrated
maybe
quarterbacks.
One of, Bears at Vikings. That's probably that's a toss up right there. I'm gonna say Vikings. I'm gonna just I have no real feel for it. I'm just gonna pick the Vikings here.
I feel like I have to gain a game. Like, give me the Bears.
Okay. And what could be the next game? And what could be an NFC wildcard match that we were just talking about? Seahawks at Washington. What are the chances? I'm going to say the Seahawks.
You have to take the Seahawks. I don't feel great about it.
Although, and I'm going to say the Redskins. I'm sorry, the Washington football team. They are on a 4-game winning streak. They're playing very good football right now. So
Alex Smith, comeback player of the year.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if Ben Roethlisberger might have something to say about that. We'll see.
No, not this week.
Jags at Ravens.
Ravens.
You have to imagine the Ravens win this game after what happened.
Jags play hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, it might be an emotional letdown because they might be looking past them.
The Jets at doesn't even matter. Doesn't even matter.
Doesn't
the Jets
matter.
at the Rams.
Yeah. Oh wow. Oh, poor Jets. That's not even. Oof.
How about this? Will be an interesting game. How about the Eagles at the Cardinals? I'm gonna take the Cardinals.
This game, I saw this game on the schedule. This game looks incredibly good. Who you took the Cardinals?
Yeah, I'm taking the Cardinals here. It's in Arizona. It's just
Yeah, I got to take the Cardinals. I want to take the Eagles, but I just don't trust them.
Well, you have 3 more games to change your mind here.
Mm-hmm.
Chiefs at the Saints.
You got to go Chiefs.
Yeah, this game it feels like we're being robbed a little bit because I think with Drew Brees healthy and playing well that maybe we could have had something, but I don't think this game is going to be very close actually. Sunday Night Football, Browns at Giants.
Browns. I think they win handily.
In fairness, though, the Giants have been, they looked bad last week, but they haven't been as bad as I would have expected them to be.
No, I just think the Browns defense is gonna make the Browns offense or the Giants offense basically inept.
And in Monday Night Football, divisional showdown, Steelers at the Bengals.
I guess the Steelers, they don't look good, but if Joe Burrow was playing, I might actually have to think about that game. But
if the Steelers don't win this game and win it by a lot, I would be very, very worried if I'm a Pittsburgh fan. Very worried.
I'm going to change one real quick. Give me the Eagles over the Cardinals.
Okay.
I think I'm going to go with Jalen Hurts.
All right, so we have our only differences. I've taken the Vikings, you take the Bears, and I've taken the Cards, you've taken the Eagles. So we have 2 differences. You can't catch me, but you can cut the lead. I'm hoping we just get the split, and it stays the same.
We'll see. We shall see. But all right. So that'll do it. One more time, you can follow us along if you missed any part of the show or want to hear our progression through the weeks. This is week 35. All the weeks back to week number 1 months ago. You can find on the iHeartRadio podcasting app, Amazon Podcasts, Spotify, Apple, Google Play, or follow us along Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, at the BW Pod on Twitter. The Benchwarmerz Podcast at yahoo.com is our email, Benchwarmerz with a Z. And so for Jose Ortiz, I am Lou Ruggieri, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.